At exactly 4 a.m., when the world was still drowned in silence, a chilling scream tore through the darkness. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the man who had inherited the revolutionary fire of Muammar Gaddafi, received devastating news. His most trusted bodyguard, his brother-in-arms, his shield in every battle, had been attacked. The clock struck 4 a.m. The city lay in deep sleep. Only whispers of the wind moved through empty streets, and then chaos broke the silence. A secret convoy was ambushed. It carried Captain Traoré's best man, the guardian of his life, the bodyguard who had stood beside him through war and betrayal. He was more than a protector. He was family. Gunfire echoed in the distance. Shadows moved through the alleys. A group of masked men struck with precision. They weren't amateurs. They were trained killers, sent for one mission only: destroy the protector, weaken the captain. The bodyguard fought back with all his strength. His fists moved like iron. His courage burned like fire. But the enemies were many. They surrounded him. They struck from behind. Blood spilled on the dirt road. The bodyguard roared like a lion. Even wounded, he refused to fall. Every breath was a fight. Every heartbeat was resistance. He remembered Gaddafi's words: "A man dies only once, but his courage lives forever." Meanwhile, Captain Ibrahim Traoré was in his camp. He received the coded call. His eyes widened. His heart pounded. His brother-in-arms was under attack. Traoré leapt to his feet. He didn't wait for dawn. He didn't wait for permission. He ordered his men, "Prepare the vehicles. We move now." Engines roared in the silence of the night. Headlights cut through the mist. Soldiers armed themselves. The convoy of justice was on the move. Traoré sat in the front. His eyes burned with rage. He whispered, "Whoever touches my brother will answer to me." Back at the ambush site, the bodyguard was cornered. He had taken down 3 attackers already, but his wounds deepened. Blood soaked his shirt. His breathing slowed, yet his spirit was unbreakable. He looked at his enemies and laughed. "Is this all you've got?" he growled. The killers hesitated. They had never seen such defiance. One raised his weapon. The trigger clicked. But before the shot rang, explosions lit up the night. Traoré's men stormed in. The ground shook with the sound of boots. Bullets sliced through the darkness. The hunters had become the hunted. Ibrahim Traoré himself stepped into the fire. His rifle roared. His presence shook the battlefield. Enemies scattered like rats. The bodyguard collapsed to his knees. His vision blurred. But when he saw Traoré arrive, his lips formed a faint smile. "You came," he whispered. Traoré rushed to him. He caught him before he hit the ground. His hands trembled with fury and pain. "You will not die tonight," Traoré swore. "Not while I still breathe." The battle raged on. Soldiers clashed in the shadows. The enemy leader tried to flee. Traoré spotted him. He fired a single shot. The leader fell. Silence followed. The ambush was crushed, but the bodyguard was fading fast. Blood flowed like a river. Traoré carried him in his arms. He shouted to the medics, "Bring the stretcher, now!" His voice shook with command, but also with fear. Fear of losing the one man who never abandoned him. The medics rushed in. They worked under the stars. Bandages wrapped the wounds. Oxygen flowed into his lungs. The bodyguard's eyes flickered. He saw the captain above him. He whispered, "Don't let them win." Traoré held his hand tight. "Rest, my brother. You are not alone." The soldier's breathing slowed. The silence was heavy. Then his chest rose again, a sign of life. Hope returned. The soldiers cheered in relief. They had saved him. For now. But Traoré's eyes burned with fire. This attack was no accident. It was a message, an attempt to break him. But they had failed. Instead, they had awakened a storm. Traoré looked at the battlefield. He swore revenge. "They think they can strike in the dark," he said, "but I will answer in the light." His men stood behind him, ready, loyal, fierce. The enemy had made a mistake. They had touched the wrong man. They had touched the shield of the captain, and they would pay. As dawn broke, the bodyguard was rushed to the field hospital. Surgeons worked without rest. The captain refused to leave his side. He stayed through the night, through the prayers, through the pain. His presence gave strength. His silence gave power. Hours passed. The bodyguard survived the surgery. When he opened his eyes, he saw the captain. His lips curved into a faint smile. "I told you, I'd never fall." Traoré clasped his shoulder. "And I told you, I'd never let you go." Both men locked eyes. Brothers not by blood, but by loyalty. Their bond was unbreakable. Their enemies had failed. The revolution lived on. Outside, the soldiers gathered. They knew what had happened. They knew an attack on the bodyguard was an attack on them all. And they would not forgive. Whispers of vengeance spread. Plans were drawn. Traoré addressed his men. His voice was thunder. "They tried to strike fear in us, but we will strike back with justice." His soldiers raised their fists. Their roar shook the earth. The bodyguard, weak but alive, heard them. His heart filled with pride. He had fought. He had bled. But he had not fallen. His story would inspire every fighter, every child, every nation longing for freedom. Traoré turned his gaze to the horizon. His mission had just begun. Enemies hid in the shadows. Traitors whispered in secret. Foreign hands pulled strings in the dark. But none could break his will. None could touch his brotherhood. None could silence his fire. At 4 a.m., they tried to kill hope. At 4 a.m., they failed. The sun rose with blood-red light. The battlefield was silent now. Only ashes and broken weapons remained. The captain stood tall. His bodyguard lived. His soldiers stood ready. The revolution's heart still beat. The night of betrayal was over. But the war had just begun. And Ibrahim Traoré was more determined than ever. In whispers, people spoke. They attacked at 4 a.m. They tried to kill the captain's shadow. But they only made him stronger. Fear shifted sides. Enemies trembled. The legend of that night spread. The story of loyalty and survival echoed, and the world would never forget. The night Captain Traoré's best bodyguard was attacked and lived. The bodyguard lay in the medical tent, his wounds wrapped, his life hanging by threads. Traoré refused to sleep. He sat by his side, watching every breath. Every rise of the chest was a victory. Every flicker of eyelids was hope. Outside, soldiers kept guard. The camp was silent but tense. The medics whispered to the captain, "He is strong, but the danger is not over." Traoré nodded slowly. His jaw tightened like stone. "He will live. He must live," he said. His voice carried certainty. Not just hope, it was an order to fate. In his silence, memories returned. He remembered the day they first met. A young soldier, fearless and sharp-eyed. The bodyguard had stepped forward during training. He had taken a blow meant for Traoré. From that day, loyalty was sealed. He became more than a protector. He became a brother. Traoré clenched his fists. How could anyone dare strike at him? How could they target the man who had shielded him countless times? This was no random act. This was calculated betrayal. He thought of the enemies in the shadows. He thought of the foreign agents plotting in silence, and his fury grew darker. Outside, the soldiers whispered among themselves. They spoke of vengeance. They spoke of justice. They sharpened their knives. They loaded their rifles. For them, this was not just an attack on one man. This was an attack on the soul of their cause. And such a wound could only be healed with fire. Dawn broke fully over the horizon. Golden light spilled across the camp. But for Traoré, the world still felt dark. He rose from his chair. He walked outside, eyes blazing. His men straightened instantly. They knew what his silence meant. A storm was coming. He spoke at last. His voice cut through the morning air. They thought we would break. They thought we would kneel. His soldiers watched, breath held. But today, I swear before all of you, his hand clenched the rifle. We will strike them back harder than they ever imagined. The camp erupted in cheers. Inside the tent, the bodyguard stirred. His eyes opened halfway. He heard the roar of the soldiers. He smiled faintly. His spirit rose with theirs. Though weak, he raised a trembling hand. One soldier rushed to his side. "Rest, brother. You are safe now." But the bodyguard whispered hoarsely, "Do not let them escape. Promise me." Traoré entered again, hearing the words. He bent close. His voice was a vow carved in stone. "They will not escape. I promise you." Relief washed over the bodyguard's face. His eyes closed once more, but his heart beat steady. Later that day, messengers arrived. They brought intelligence, names of those who planned the ambush, maps of their hideouts, proof of their foreign backers. Traoré studied the papers in silence. His face remained calm, but his soul burned with fury. "Prepare the operation," he commanded. "We move at nightfall." Soldiers saluted. They moved swiftly like wolves scenting blood. The bodyguard was placed under heavy guard. Medics remained at his side. No enemy would reach him again. Not while Traoré breathed. As evening fell, the captain stood before his men. The fire of vengeance glowed in his eyes. "At 4 a.m. they struck us in the dark," he declared. "Tonight, we answer in the dark as well." His men roared like thunder. Weapons were raised. Justice was near. The night of reckoning had come. Traoré mounted his vehicle. His soldiers followed in disciplined silence. Engines rumbled like distant drums of war. The mission had begun. Somewhere in the shadows, the attackers hid, believing themselves safe. But death was already on its way. Led by a man they had failed to break, the world would soon learn. To touch one soldier of Ibrahim Traoré was to declare war on the captain himself. And war was something he never lost. The night belonged to him now. The battlefield awaited. Justice sharpened its blade, and the fire of vengeance would burn until dawn.